Yellowstone hasn't solved this John Dutton IE mystery from the series premiere. Taylor Sheridan has failed to answer a John Dutton IE mystery from the Yellowstone series premiere. The corresponding scene is a deep pull from Lee Dutton's funeral, but it contains mysterious information about the Dutton family tree that the show didn't touch for another 5 seasons. Yellowstone's conclusion elicited a mixed reaction from fans and critics. The ending leaned into the expansive lore of long-forgotten Dutton family members, fulfilling a prophecy set up in 1883, Sheridan's prequel series that explains how John Dutton's ancestors arrived in Paradise Valley, Montana. Sheridan's Yellowstone prequels, titled 1883 and 1923, respectively, for the year they occur, weave together a rich tapestry that makes up the Dutton family. The Yellowstone prequels inform viewers about the 7 generations of characters who exist within the 140 years the family occupies what became the largest contiguous ranch in the U.S. From Elsa Dutton's 1883 tragedy to Spencer's heroic journey in 1923. Still, one mystery critically linked to John Iia remains unsolved, leaving Sheridan with sparse options to clear up the identity of 2 mysterious characters from the series premiere. The Yellowstone series premiere set the tone for the franchise, with a modern range war erupting between the Dutton family and the Broken Rock tribe. After a herd of cattle mysteriously migrates to the Broken Rock Reservation, the tribe's new chief claims the cattle as his people's. Unwilling to accept he's lost a fraction of his herd, John Ie plays into Thomas Rainwater's setup and arrives with a convoy of livestock agents and cowboys to take the beef back. Unfortunately, it's a fatal mission, and John's oldest son never makes it home. After Lee Dutton's death in Yellowstone Season 1, Episode 1, John Ie and his loved ones attend his eldest son's funeral. As the sorrowful music plays and the service begins, John closes his eyes and lifts his head to the sky, momentarily transcending. As he does this, he remembers something, with the scene cutting to a picture of 2 tombstones within the family's grassy graveyard. The weathered tombstones read the names of Chance and Ned Dutton as they flashed on the small screen. While one could expect the names to reappear, Yellowstone doesn't mention these characters again in 5 seasons. The most mysterious element of Chance and Ned's one-off mention is that Yellowstone reveals so little about them. Only the carving of a date is visible on Ned Dutton's gravestone, which appears to read March 16, 1863. Tall meadow grass has grown over the tombstone. Still, if the year is correct, it only confuses Ned's place in the family tree since the Dutton family settled in Montana in 1883, putting the date 2 decades before their arrival. The date on Ned Dutton's gravestone could be a continuity error, since Sheridan created the prequel 3 years after launching the flagship. Chance's tombstone is similar in size and shape to Ned's, so it's probably safe to assume they died around the same time. Much less is known about Chance Dutton, whose gravestone is illegible besides his name. Another possibility, instead of a continuity error, is that Chance and Ned Dutton's graves serve as symbolic monuments for fallen family members. These people, children possibly, could have died before the Dutton family settled in Montana. That said, James Dutton is embroiled in the Civil War during the death year on Ned's gravestone, 1863, ruling out Ned as a child Margaret lost in childbirth. Without any word on Yellowstone Season 6, the opportunity to address Ned and Chance's fate on the flagship is gone. The mystery is likely an intentional move on Sheridan's part, with his Yellowstone series often complementing and informing one another. Sheridan could be leaving the mystery for another Yellowstone spin-off to solve. The next one to come to the small screen will be the 2nd installment of 1923. Moreover, 1923 Season 2 is the most likely chapter of all the Dutton family stories to answer the mystery now that the flagship has wrapped up John Dutton's story. It's unlikely, if not impossible, that Chance and Ned were James and Margaret's children, but the Grakes could still be a monument. The boys could have been the sons of Jacob and Kara Dutton, who arrived in Montana in 1894 after Margaret pleaded with her brother-in-law to save her husband's dream. It could be that when Jacob and Kara arrived from New York, turning James' dream into an empire, the couple erected monuments to their fallen children. From the 1923 story, we know that Jacob and Kara don't have children in Yellowstone, having raised Spencer and John Dutton. Taylor Sheridan's modern-day Western is filled with intrigue, family drama, and complex characters. One such character, John Dutton IE, remains one of the most captivating figures in the series. Though the show has peeled back numerous layers of his character, there's still one major mystery left unresolved from the very first episode. The secret behind John Dutton's mysterious act of violence and the eerie way it echoes throughout his life. From the very first moments of Yellowstone, the mystery has lingered in the background, adding layers to John's character that have yet to be fully explored. It all begins in the series premiere, Daybreak. The introduction of the Dutton family is anything but traditional, as John Dutton is first seen in a grim and bloody situation. After a tense standoff with a ranch hand named Garrett Randall, John is seen brutally shooting him, an action that, on its surface, seems like a justified act of self-defense. Garrett Randall is an outsider who trespasses on the Dutton ranch, and John's swift decision to protect his land appears to be straightforward. But there's more lurking beneath the surface. As the show progresses, we realize that this particular act of violence is the first in a long line of morally ambiguous decisions that define John's character. But what makes this moment so compelling is that it's not the violence itself that raises the most questions. It's the events that follow and the silence that surrounds them. The series premiere offers only a cursory explanation of the confrontation, with the real weight of the situation never fully revealed. What exactly prompted John to shoot Garrett Randall? Was it truly an act of self-defense, or was there more to their history that we don't know? The show throws us into the aftermath of the violence without fully explaining it, leaving the audience to wonder about the mystery at the heart of John Dutton's actions. One of the most intriguing aspects of this scene is the way the show handles it. John doesn't seem shaken or remorseful, despite the fact that he has just killed someone. Instead, he retreats into his usual stoic, cold demeanor. It's as if he's done this before, or, at the very least, has been involved in situations that demand similar levels of detachment. Is this a one-time act, or is it a reflection of a deeper, darker side of John Dutton that hasn't been fully explored? To understand the mystery, one must look at the context of Garrett Randall's death. In the early seasons of Yellowstone, we learn that Garrett is the father of Jamie Dutton, John's adopted son. The revelation of this family tie only adds to the complexity of the situation. If John knew that Garrett was Jamie's father, did he kill him out of a sense of personal vengeance, or to protect his adopted son from a man who could potentially harm the family? Was Garrett's trespassing a mere coincidence, or was it part of a larger scheme that John was aware of? The show never fully answers these questions, leaving a gap that continues to fuel speculation and theory. Beyond the immediate mystery of Garrett Randall's death, there's another question that remains unanswered. Why does John seem so disconnected from the violence that surrounds him? As the series progresses, John's willingness to use force, both physical and psychological, becomes a central theme of his character. Whether he's dealing with corrupt politicians, land thieves, or even his own family members, John is often forced to make decisions that require a callousness and a lack of emotional attachment that is unsettling. The murder of Garrett Randall is the first clue that John is willing to cross a moral line that most people wouldn't. But the real mystery lies in understanding why he feels compelled to do so. One theory is that John's violent tendencies are rooted in his past experiences. We know that John's father, James Dutton, was a man who built the Yellowstone ranch from the ground up. And it's implied that John was raised to be fiercely protective of the land and the legacy that comes with it. But what if John's capacity for violence stems from something darker, something that was ingrained in him at a young age? Could John have been taught, either explicitly or implicitly, that violence is the only way to maintain control over his empire? Could this belief be a result of the loss of his mother or the hardships his family faced in building the ranch?